Hello, I'm William Gallagher, and this is a 58 keys 3 biscuit guide, which means everything I know, or at least everything I can find out about one particular topic, and there's enough that you'll need sustenance. In this case, the topic is the new OmniOutliner 6 for Mac, iPhone, iPad, and Apple Vision Pro. 58 keys is always for writers, right? It's always for writers like you and me who use and who write on these devices. And actually, I'm gonna go out and say that OmniOutliner is good for all of us. Yes, I was getting to that. You hear the word outline, right, or at least maybe I do, and you think, well, obviously you think of planning and structure, you know what it means, rearranging thoughts, maybe all of that, but I would suggest that you probably usually think of it specifically in planning your writing, so your novel, your script, your story, in some case. Fine. OmniOutliner does all of that, and I don't ever use it. Well, I have planned out articles. I've planned out articles quite a lot, and there was once a chapter in a novel where, you know, the timing of where each character had to be, that was absurdly tricky, so I did work that out. And I tried in a spreadsheet first and then went to OmniOutliner. But yes, good point. I also use it for writing 58 keys, this YouTube channel. So for this, I'll compile notes, I'll think about a sequence, and well, then since I'm actually in that document as well, I just write the script there. But otherwise, what I use it for is I plan events in OmniOutliner. I plan projects. OmniOutliner is really for organizing any ideas of any kind about anything for just about any purpose. Get it out of your head and in front of you where you can see it, where you can add to it, fiddle with it. And the new OmniOutliner 6, I think, does all of this better than it ever has. I want to take you through that. I want to take you through how you use it. But in case you already know and you just want to see what's new, actually go get the trial version. Or let me give you two examples of things that are completely new. First, step over to this other app with me. This is actually the to-do app OmniFocus, made by the same fine people. And with a click or a tap on that task there, I can now be straight away in this multi-column OmniOutliner document. That quick linking to the document, that's what's new. Quick linking from anywhere. The columns and the rest you've been able to do before, and I do want to show you later how those are useful, but it's the linking that's brand new, and so is this. Actually, I showed this to my Patreon members last week. Here's an example of a free text description of what a few days ago I thought this edition of 58 Keys should be about, should cover. I wrote that in one app, I wrote it in Drafts 5, and then I went to OmniOutliner and I did this. 30 seconds later, I had an outline for this episode. I'm not using it. Actually, I thought it was a bit odd, really. Some bits seemed to be in the wrong order to me, but, you know, for 30 seconds waiting, sip of a cup of tea, OmniOutliner gave me I was going to say a decent start, but it was more than that. It was a pretty comprehensive start, wasn't it? Okay, yes, good point. Last piece of housekeeping before digging into how you actually use all of this and what you can actually use it for as a writer. You need to know that there are two versions of OmniOutliner. There is OmniOutliner Essentials and OmniOutliner Pro. I think you can work out why there's a difference, but in both cases, right, you buy the app once and it's yours forever. Across the Mac, the iPhone, the iPad, Apple Vision Pro. Essentials costs $25, and you can upgrade from older versions of it for up to about 50% off. Pro costs $100 and the upgrade is $50. Or you can choose to subscribe and get the Pro version for $50 a year. The multi-columns thing you saw just now requires Pro, but like I said, the linking from other places, opening it from my to-do app, that stuff, and actually in particular that automatic outlining, the making of an outline from my verbose prompt, that's in both versions. Right, yes, structure is important. If you buy the Essentials versions now, you need to know that you can later choose to move up to the Pro version just by paying the difference. Plus, I alluded to this a moment ago, there is a generous 14-day free trial of OmniOutliner 6, which lets you switch back and forth between the Pro and the Essentials so you can see which is better for you, what's worth it for you. Now, using it. Everything in this first section I want to talk to you about works in both versions, Essentials and Pro. Starting actually with how you've already seen a basic outline, all that dragging up and down stuff to rearrange points and remind me when to do things. That's really the core of OmniOutliner. And while I think it's easier, smoother, actually somehow more enjoyable than other outlining apps I've tried, well, truly this part, it does work the same way as all of them. I mean, it even works the same way as the one in Microsoft Word, although, you know, no question, that one is torture. But anyway, with OmniOutliner, right, you can write a line of text, hit return, write the next, and so on. I think you grasp the concept there. But then, of course, you can drag those lines about as you're thinking what belongs where, what do you want to do, what works in what way. Yeah. Sooner or later, after a few lines, you're going to want to add some more detail, some notes to yourself, some explanation. So actually, for this script, for instance, the first thing I wrote down in one section was the word pricing, because, well, obviously I had to tell you that if you didn't already know. I could then have written the cost details on the next line, and actually I did. But as I hit return on the word pricing, I then also hit the tab key. This is an example. It indented the next line, right? It tucked it in. That's why I think of it. It tucked it in under the pricing line. And actually, unless I pressed Shift and Tab to undo this, every line that follows will be equally indented, will be equally tucked in, which means this. As I planned out the addition, I knew I needed to cover the price and I knew I needed to check what the pricing was, but I did not need to see all of that detail all of the time, and I don't have to, because I tabbed and because I so indented the price detail. Because I've done that, you get this, it's called a disclosure triangle. Click on that and everything indented on the pricing rolls up and I'm left with just the pricing heading until I want to go into it again to read more, to add more. You can indent like that and then indent again and then indent some more. Layers upon layers of notes, all tucked away when you don't need them, all available when you do. One example, I've done this with research. So the top line was what the topic was, and then underneath it, indented there was a particular source, and then tucked away under that, a link to that source, and maybe on that same level, descriptions, notes, some text from it, so all there. Even though, right, I have OmniOutliner Pro, this is what I do most of the time, and you can do it in the lower cost OmniOutliner Essentials. I could also, just for other examples, choose different templates, make things look different. And actually, you've seen this already. I did so for that 58 keys schedule I showed you, although honestly, I did it mostly to show you. For some reason, for me, the basic, plain, simple outlines, they do me most of the time. When I'm writing out ideas, when I'm thinking about them, when I'm adjusting them. But then there comes a point when you're done. And there are something like 3-ish further things you can do with this OmniOutliner document. The first is, frankly, I just leave it there. Leave it there on the screen while I'm writing something, or maybe I'm emailing people I need for an event or working through budgets or something. It's like it's on the screen as a reference guide. Or the second thing I do is actually for this, for a 58 keys script. Well, I've always ended up with much more than an outline that has some tucked away detail. I've got an entire script in there. I should say, actually, that also sometimes happens by accident. For instance, the pricing thing. I might know that I've got to tell someone the price of something, but, you know, it turns out to be complicated, multiple versions, subscriptions, one-time purchases, all sorts of things. And what I have to do is think about the best structure for explaining that clearly. I think about it. I think it through OmniOutliner. I note down the details, but then quite often I would just try writing out a sentence to see how will I explain it all in the final piece. And then next thing you know, I've hit return and I'm writing the next sentence and the next. And practically before I realize it, I have sometimes finished a whole section or a whole script, quite startlingly often an entire article. But okay, with a 58 key script like this, I do deliberately set out to do that. And then when I'm done, I take the final text into a teleprompter app. Or When, for example, it's a workshop I've planned out, a workshop I'm running, there's one series of young writer workshops I do one Saturday a month where I have an assistant. And so before the session, I send them the outline. Now, you can just send them the link to the OmniOutliner document and they could read it either in their own copy of OmniOutliner, or they could go through the link, they could download OmniOutliner and read the document for free. But that does seem to me to be a bit of an ask. Anyone. Plus, for whatever reason, it seems invariably my different assistants over the years always seem to be on PCs, and there is no Windows version of OmniOutliner. It's frankly a reason to switch to a Mac, but there are others. So what I never just send them the OmniOutliner document. I export the text. I'm not terribly happy actually with how I do this. You have so many options for formatting it and then adjusting those formats, and I don't know what it is. I just never seem to quite get it the way I want. But you can do it. I do it. And I know it's just me not doing it quite right, quite the way I want. I should fiddle more. It's been years though. Also, I've done this a couple of times. You can export from the text-based OmniOutliner to a visual mind mapping app such as MindNode, and vice versa. Actually, you can bring a mind map into OmniOutliner. I can go back and forth. There are so many things you can do with this exporting of your outlines, unless you want to export your OmniOutliner document to Microsoft Excel. You cannot do that in OmniOutliner Essentials, but you can in OmniOutliner Pro. Really, you want the Pro version of OmniOutliner. I know I just said that most of the time I use only the features that are in the lower cost Essentials version, but I do often, and you will, come up against the limits of that version. One limitation, actually, I mean, it's quite rare for me, but I would so miss it if it weren't there for me in OmniOutliner Pro, is audio recording. So right there in the outline, in OmniOutliner Pro, you can record audio. I mean, I don't think it's broadcast quality. I've never even tried to use it for anything other than just remind myself what was going on. But once I had this meeting, right, and I knew I was never going to remember everything going in. So as well as actually having all of my notes ready in OmniOutliner and questions and things, and then actually throughout the meeting I was adding more. I also hit record, and so at the end I had an audio recording of what was actually said right next to what I'd been thinking, what I'd been noting down. You do obviously have to tell people you're doing that, but you can do it. Or much more common instance for me, I keep telling you that I write these 58 key scripts in OmniOutliner, but once they're written, I also need to plan out the visuals, the images, screenshots, everything that you're going to see on screen that isn't just me and my gob. Because OmniOutliner Pro lets you have more than one column, I can do this. I actually have a difficulty here, especially when I have several columns. It's just me. Again, I mean, I know it's just me, but I will often find that I'll be writing something away in that second column, thinking about it, and hit return, intending to write more in that same column. And instead, what happens is I get a new blank line and my cursor is back in the first column. I mean, I don't really see how it could work any other way, but still, it means for me, I'll be writing, I'll hit return, I'll blink for a second and have to click over into the second column again before I can do more. Fine, yeah. And you've already seen this, but in Pro, there you are, I can have many columns. You just keep clicking that add column button and away off you go. But you can also go further and be much more specific about what a particular column can or can't have in it. Let me make another new column. And actually, I'm just going to drag it around to rearrange it because you can. Click in the column header to select that column and then click on the I for Inspector button. Choose from these options and you can have the column only allow numbers, for instance, or maybe you want it to be a pop-up menu, and right here you can fill in what you want that pop-up menu to show, and actually of course you can add to this later, you can change it, delete it anywhere you like at any point you like. But now with the pop-up menu set, when you click in that column you get this. I don't actually know why the text looks a little odd there, like squeezed up when you first select it, but when you click away it's written in there as if you typed it yourself. which means, of course, you don't have to type it yourself. I mean, all right, it's not like it's an arduous chore to type a few words, but having it in the menu like that also means you'll never get it wrong. I've got, financial things, for example, where, I don't know, maybe today I used the heading money, but yesterday I used cash. Said never again when I'm selecting from a drop-down list. Plus, OmniOutliner Pro also has this sidebar, which has this search option called batch find. It will find every line that has whatever you're looking for. So if you've used a pop-up menu in a column, it's put in the word you want, and searching for the words you've used there means you get every section that has that line in it. None of the money cash thing, you get all of the money, all the cash, whatever it is. You can save these searches too, which then means you can have 1 or 2 click access to the parts of your outline that you most often use. In my 58 keys schedule outline, for instance, I can click to see only the lines, the entries that have, say, the 58 keys podcast. 58 keys podcast is a Patreon only thing. It's just a little short audio preview of what's coming up on the channel, that kind of thing. Or similarly right there, the Thursday tip, again, a Patreon thing on 58 keys. If you do not search at all though, if you do not ever click on these things for it, if you just click on the first button in the sidebar, it will show you all of the top level lines of your outline. So if you have neatly indented everything into sections, well then here you can quickly see the main headings and jump to where you want to go. It's like a table of contents for it. You can also just click the I for inspector button without selecting anything, any row or column, and get what I believe the technical term is oodles of controls and options, including the ability to have the rows automatically numbered in multiple different ways. And actually, in amongst all of these options, there is another particular related one that I've never done. So let's figure out how to do it together, okay? You can have OmniOutliner sort your outline. Now, I really don't want to do that to this script. It could get very confusing, very timey-wimey. So let me switch to a different outline before I mess up everything. And I'll tell you what, if we're going to start a new outline to make an example, well, then let's choose something a bit more than the basic template. One of the new things, by the way, in OmniOutliner 6 is that this template chooser, this template picker, is now the same across the Mac, the iPhone, and the iPad. I'm afraid I don't think I've particularly noticed how different they were before, because I just kept on using the same basic template. But this is another example, actually, of many things in OmniOutliner 6 where every version is looking the same and feeling the same across the Mac, the iPhone, and the iPad. And I think I like that a lot. I think that's great. But back to this. For no particular reason, right, I'm going to choose the, apparently it's called the muted theme. That's nice. I know I can change the theme later. I can adjust everything later. But for now, yeah, whatever. Let's just take it as it comes. One odd thing, actually, that I find sometimes in OmniOutliner. What I wanted to do here was select all of that example text and then paste something else in instead of it, just wipe it out and replace it. And instead, what happened when I pasted was it appended some of what I wanted rather than deleting what was there. I had to go back in, delete what was there and paste in what I wanted. I don't know why that happens. If you notice me pushing the wrong button, do please let me know. But anyway, here we are now with an outline, and I wish to sort it in some way. There you go. Fine. Organize, sort, outline. And right there, also keep sorted. So if I wanted to, I could now write in a new line of text anywhere and know that OmniOutliner will instantly rearrange it into the right position, and in this case, alphabetically. Can't say I've ever found a use for that myself, but you can see why it might be useful. Yeah? Whereas, I should say this, I do use this all the time. Collapse all and expand all. It tends to be that I do it from the keyboard, so I don't think about the menus. So I'll be writing something that I'll reach a point when I've just so much in the outline. We'd have 5 levels deep of details or something. And I just, you can't see the words for the stress. Collapse all. Everything closes down to the main outline points. Each thing where you've not indented it is a main point, and it comes down to just those. nothing underneath is shown until you want it. And then there's the opposite. When you do want to see everything, expand all. And actually I use that less often, but I'll open up everything if I can't find something I know is there. But collapse all. It's like a breath of fresh air, letting you forget detail and look at just the overall issues. Only it's not the sole way you can do that. Also, I believe, suddenly not sure, I'm reasonably certain about this, only available if you have OmniOutliner Pro, you do have the option to focus. With my 58 key schedule document, for instance, well, I do actually quite often need to go over the whole thing, what I've done before, what do I want to come up next, but usually I'm only interested in the current week I'm working on. So I can select that and then choose the view menu and focus, or Command Shift F, and it's as if nothing else but that current week exists in the whole document. Do what you need to do, right down there in the weeds, and then turn off focus, which you can do by clicking on the new unfocus button that's suddenly appeared, or by choosing view unfocus, or by remembering the slightly longer keystroke. You can tell I don't do that one that much. I usually click the button. Another way, right, to cut down on having too much detail in your face all the time is to use the notes option. In both Essentials and Pro, you can move your cursor to the left of a row and get what's like a document-like icon that appears when you hover over it. Click on that and you can add a little note. If you do add a little note, well then while you're on that line you can see the text underneath the line you're on, and it stays there until you click away to somewhere else in the outline. And if you have added a little note, the note icon will stay on to the left of the line. So as you're scrolling through, you can see which lines have notes, which don't. In Pro, you can choose to instead have those notes display in a section at the foot of the screen. The note appears there when you click in the row that has it. It disappears when you click into another one. Or take a look at this, please. You can see a lot of text in each line here, and I think that's something else that could be distracting you from seeing the overall picture, and it might be projecting, but you know. In OmniOutliner Pro, you can also do this. Choose the view menu, choose show full row text, and then when editing. And watch what happens when I hit return, so start editing a new row. The text, all that text of the line above is truncated, visibly truncated to just the first one. So you can see what it's about if you need to, but you don't have to have the distraction of a screen full of text in your face all of the time, unless you want to. Click in any line like this to see all of the text that's there. Click out of it when you're done. OmniOutliner 6, right, it's all about you just getting ideas and thoughts down and then helping you organize them, expand them, work on them, massage them. With version 6, I think that's helped by the new design that uses Apple's liquid glass, and just generally, I think, has a rather good visual overhaul. Plus, this will sound trivial, but I practically cheered aloud when I learned about this. On the Mac version of OmniOutliner 6, you can now have 2 or more windows open on the same document. So useful when I've got loads of notes at the top and I'm working on detail at the bottom. You've always been able to do it on a kind of iPad thing, but now on the Mac. All of this is about concentrating on your ideas instead of having to piddle about with controls. And all of that, I think, is definitely helped in OmniOutliner 6 by 2 brand new features, Omni Links and Apple Intelligence, both of which actually are both in OmniOutliner Essentials and Pro, both of which I kind of mentioned earlier as well. Omni Links first, right? This will be coming to all Omni Group apps eventually, but it's starting here in OmniOutliner. And it's a way of having a link, a clickable, tappable link that takes you to, for example, different outlines. If you ever used Hookmark, which I love, you'll recognize this. Through Hookmark, any OmniOutliner document could, for example, be linked to a to-do task, like I showed you earlier with Omni Links, or you could link particular emails to particular OmniOutliner documents. So then using Hookmark, if you're in the right OmniOutliner document, you can quickly leap to that email, or if you're in the emails, you can quickly leap to the OmniOutliner document that's related to it. I mean, it's great. Hookmark is superb, and Omni Links won't ever stop me using Hookmarks, but Omni Links has one advantage that is key. while there is now an iPhone and iPad version of Hookmark, it is not, and it cannot ever be, as useful as Hookmark is on the Mac, because Apple won't allow it. Apple will not allow one app to do very much with other developers' apps on the iPhone or the iPad, which is, in this case, it's a shame, but it's also why those devices are as secure as they are. Everything's protected from... Omni doesn't have to worry about mucking around with other developers' apps. It can just muck around with its own. Muck around is a bad phrase. It can control its own, which means this. I mean, I'm pretty sure I created that to-do task on my Mac, reasonably certain, but I could have done it on my iPad or my iPhone. It doesn't matter. Create it on any of them, and it works on all of them. So I could work all day here on my Mac and then pick up my iPad, and without my doing anything new, anything different, just tap a link that will open up this same document. I can carry on working on the iPad or on the Mac, on a different Mac or the iPhone. You can forget where your outline document is. You just know it's always with you. And now we have this. I keep showing you the 58 keys schedule outline. Each week starts the same, not surprisingly. It's like the blank topics. What am I going to fill in? One of the many things you can do is have OmniOutliner append the details of a new week, in my case, ready to be filled out using an Omni link. Omni links are available right out of the box, where they're just there. But if you also then go to the Omni automation site, link in the description, you can then choose to install further free OmniOutliner plugins, extra OmniOutliner features. And once you've done that, you can, for example, select some text within an outline, then choose the automation menu, select Archive Omni Link, give it a title that you'll remember, and then later on, when you remember it, you can place your cursor where you want in a new outline, in the same outline, choose Automation, Omni Links Archive, pick your link, and then get options to open that link. For example, in a new document and so on. But the one I keep using is Add Linked Rows to Document. It doesn't always work for some reason. And yet again, I know it's me doing it right. But most of the time, what happens is I just press those buttons. I could even set up a keystroke if I thought about it, and get a new blank line in my schedule with all of this week's headings ready for me to fill out, ready for me to choose from drop downs, or select dates from the date pickers, or tick as done. This is all Omni automation, right, which is available to you if you want it and does not get in your way if you don't, or if you don't want to get around to it yet. There's just an enormous amount you can do with Omni automation. I mean, ridiculously enormous amount of things you can do. But the very last thing I need to show you to convey OmniOutliner 6 is that automatic outline generator that I mentioned earlier. This is Apple Intelligence being usefully used within OmniOutliner. And what it means is that I can do that thing of describing what I want this 58 Keys episodes to cover, and OmniOutliner itself will generate a suggested outline for me. I mean, again, you have to go first to the free plugins on the automation site to get it, but then there's one there called AI Step Generator. Follow the prompts to install that free plugin, and then choose Automation, AI Step Generator. Write or paste in your prompt for it. And it always seems to take between 30 and 40 seconds for anything to happen. Maybe it's my system, but you wait that long, and then sometimes after you've waited for that while, you do get this error. And what this error usually means is you haven't given it enough to go on. So what you do is you do it again, but you write out a slightly fuller prompt and you wait another 30 seconds or so. And then you will typically get, at the very least, a good start to your outline. You may, though, get the same error for different reasons, because it could now actually be that you've gone too far the other way. You've written too much. I can't figure out the minimums and the maximums of what works reliably, but you need more than a few words, and a lot fewer words than a book or even a chapter. I don't think that this is good for summarizing meetings or anything like that. I think it is excellent for getting you started on figuring out your ideas, which is why it belongs here in OmniOutliner. OmniOutliner It's the inside of your head laid out in front of you, and every bit of it is meant to help you dig deeper, to see connections, to understand and to develop your ideas. As I said, Omni Automation and Omni Links are in both the new OmniOutliner 6 Essentials and OmniOutliner 6 Pro. A huge amount of what I've shown you is already actually in the previous version 5 that I've used for years. But the thing is, I wasn't always aware that it was there, because I think that's the thing with this app. OmniOutliner has so much, it does so much, but you never have to learn any of it. You could just write down some thoughts, and then if you want to, drag them to rearrange them into better order, add columns if it helps you, change the look of the template. If you like, fix some columns to only ever be dates, for example, fiddle away at it, at the myriad options when you want them, when it's going to be useful to you and not before. I think OmniOutliner is exceptionally easy to use, and that is because in part of this thing of you just use what you need when you need it. I don't like outlines, unbelievably. I don't, given all I'm praised about this. I don't think there have been many days in the last 10 years or more that I didn't use OmniOutliner for something, including this edition of 58 keys. And that's it for this edition. Thank you very much for watching. Now take care of yourself, okay? And I will see you soon.